Welcome to the Catholic Dadcast by Rich Pintang, where we break down all things dad from a Catholic perspective. Now more than ever, we need dads to step up their game. Gentlemen, buckle up and get ready for battle. Brothers and sisters, welcome to the Catholic Dadcast. I am Rich Pintang, your host and founder, and we are broadcasting from Southern California, and we're on season 2, getting close to wrapping up season 2, and by far it's been another blessing just being able to carry on these conversations and to talk to men and women about our faith and how we show up in our families. Today's episode is pretty cool. I want to say that this episode, I think, is going to really look at the unknowns of pregnancy, the unknowns of fatherhood, and a lot of the unknowns of navigating a lot of the chaos that can come from the family life, but also the grace that can come from it as well. And my guest today, he's actually coming from the rugged streets of Huntington Beach, California. Crazy surf life out there, a little bit of everything. He's actually a professional consultant in the solar industry. He is a father of one, and please welcome to the show, Michael da Rosa.
Hey, how you doing?
Good to have you, man.
Thanks for having me.
I was gonna say that when we met at the Walking with Dads, I was like, oh, it's really cool that I actually got a chance to meet you in person. I mean, the conversation was one thing, but just really intrigued to share your story of what you would consider an unplanned pregnancy. But I think everyone that's a father or a mother can look at it as, well, this is what we're gonna go with. So Michael, on your side, it sounds like nowadays you're juggling quite a bit. Your daughter, what tell everyone your daughter's name?
Oakley.
Okay, so you have little Oakley that rules the world now, and then your girlfriend Piper. You guys have been together nearly 2 years, correct?
Yeah, correct. Back in like July of 2021. So approaching the 2-year mark.
Right. And I think the backstory, which is it's pretty intriguing to hear your to know kind of the backstory of how you became a father and things like that. And but I would say that you had some other plans. You had some other plans there, and just so the audience kind of, and listeners and viewers know, Michael and I, we met at the Life Center of Santa Ana, and the Life Center of Santa Ana is meant to serve those that are expecting and or are raising children, and they're just a great blessing to the community. And if you want to get more involved in what they do, you can go to lifecenterofsantaana.org. And just to give you guys an idea, when Michael and I met there, I had really just took a walk and just kind of like looked at all the things that that are involved in raising young kids, and I look at it, and the more I look at the brochure, I realize how much this organization does for the community, between the ongoing emotional and spiritual support, the mentorship program, the free pregnancy testing, free ultrasound, crib assistance, maternity clothes, referrals, diapers, wipes, children's clothing, special events for mothers, and the supports for dads. I mean, I think Michael, you obviously have a heart for that too, and I recognized it. Is the Walking with Dads version of it? They support the moms through Walking with Moms, but seeing you involved in the Walking with Dads is important, and I want to make sure we touch on that because I think what you and I do there is crucial. But um, anything you want to say about the Life Center of Santa Ana before we jump into the before we jump into kind of your testimony?
Yeah. Um, Firstly, Megan Morris, she's a godsend. She's an angel on earth, and what she does is it's a gift. Like she works so hard to offer support for young moms, young fathers, um, and people that are like just having a hard time with parenthood. You know, some of the stories that you hear walking into the life center is scary. And Megan, she always has this positive attitude with her, and it just like lifts you up. But one thing too is, we're expanding our branches, and we're also, speaking out at high schools as much as we can, to let them know about what the life center has to offer. Because it's one thing to be in that situation and know that there's support there, but it's another thing when a high schooler or someone who gets pregnant unexpectedly doesn't know that there is support. So it's another great thing that they're doing is uh, we go out to high schools and speak and share the message of the life center and what we're there to do.
Yeah, I love that you understand that outreach is so important, and I'm sure that they've said that. And I think that sometimes it takes someone like Megan to have that heart um, to recognize and to be empathetic towards the challenges that can come through starting a family, raising a family. A lot of times, I mean, it's very suffocating, and I think for someone like myself that has a 17-year-old and a 12-year-old now, Michael, I can't imagine my life without it. I that's really the only way I can describe it. You know, in fact, I want to say, I did a keynote on fatherhood last week, and I think one of the things I said was that it's a gift and a responsibility, but that responsibility can be really heavy sometimes, right? Uh,
Yeah,
Sleepless nights, worries, uncertainties, and but I think I think that being able to be there at the Life Center in Santa Ana was it was just it comes together, really comes together. And like you said, you being able to meet those other men that are looking for direction and support. Um I would think that you guys have grateful hearts, to have those conversations and have that safe place to go for guidance, right?
definitely. That was one big thing for me was I didn't know too many kids my age going through what I was going through, and going there having support and knowing that I'm not the only one struggling like with the challenges in my life was an immense support for me.
Well, like I said, we wanted to make sure that the Life Center of Santa Ana, for those that can't help or intrigued to hear more about what they do, uh, they can be reached at lifecenterofsantaana.org. And really, what they need right now is obviously to share what they do. Some of their current needs are diapers, size 0 to 6, pull-ups, baby wipes, um, shampoo, new car seats, strollers, clothing, things that that any young family might be in need of. And if anything, just sharing what they do with others is a blessing to all of us. So Michael, it's pretty interesting to see how God kind of brought us together. I didn't have to show up to a Walking with Dads kickoff meeting, but something drew me to want to be there to learn, right? And And so here we are, like your plans, and it's amazing how God has our plans, and then we have our own plans. You had your own plans growing up. So walk us through what did that look like?
Yeah, so all I wanted to do as a kid was to play football. So it was my goal to get to the next level of college football out of high school, and um, I was blessed to have the opportunity where I was gonna go play football in Nebraska at a small D3 school. And then, like you said, God has our plans, right? So just a few days before I was gonna fly out for summer camp, um, my girlfriend had told me that we were pregnant and we were expecting. And so those 3 days before flying out to Nebraska was very challenging. It was a very mental um, challenge for me. So I still ended up going to Nebraska. I was like, let me go for a semester at least, and let me try to figure out from there. And God made it clear what his plans were because I think it was my third or fourth day there, not even a week through on campus. I had a really bad ankle injury and I broke my ankle in like two spots. So had a lot of time to think. And um, challenging part there was not being with my girlfriend through her pregnancy. And that's something that I regret. Uh, and then, yeah, so decided to come home um, at the end of the first semester and was going to junior college for a while. And to me, I was like, I need to support my family. I need to, be able to provide for my family and make some money. So decided to get into sales um, at a solar company, just generating some leads. But, you know, during all this, it was hard because I still wasn't fully accepting the fact that I was having a kid on the way. I think it hit me. So my girlfriend was going through her challenges of carrying a child, dealing with all the um, physical challenges that came with that, um, while also working a full-time job as well. So it was at around that point where I came in contact with Megan. Uh, my mom actually connected us, and so yeah, I might be getting a little bit sidetracked here, but I mean, yeah, all I wanted to do was just play football in college and maybe at the NFL level. And then God made it clear that wasn't his plan for me. And yeah,
I would think that a lot of times you're juggling priorities and you're thinking, well, if I can get to the next level, maybe I'll be able to uh start to make things work. And then all of a sudden you realize, the JC's not working. Let me figure out how to best support my family. What was that kind of the advice you were getting from your surroundings, from your family and your loved ones?
yeah. So it was a lot of like, um, some of my family supported it, and then some of my family didn't. So a lot of people were big on like education, getting a college degree. And then I also had um, a big influence on my life was my friend's father, and he was kind of in a similar situation as me. He had his kids young age, and you know, kind of getting input from both sides, kind of saying like what their like thoughts were. I kind of used that to make a decision for my own. And for me, it was just a clear thing that like I was going to school for like business and for like a sales and marketing degree. And something in my head one day, like while I was sitting in the classroom, was just like, why am I sitting in a classroom learning about this when it's the only real way to learn about sales is to go out and do it. And so like that moment, I was like, all right, let me look for some sales job. Um, and then found it one on Indeed, tried it out, and first week, I was like, yeah, I was like, this is the way to go for me. And then the more I explained it, my thought process to my family that was supporting the educational side, they were starting to kind of see that the decision I made wasn't just like an impulse decision. It was like a deeply thought out process. And, you know, they ended up like coming around to it. And, some will still say that I should go to school, but, there's always people in life that will say their thoughts and let their thoughts be heard. And I appreciate them for that too.
Sure. And here's what I'll tell you, man. I won't say that our paths are the same, but there's similarities. And I would tell you because when I left Chicago, um, I had I had an associate's degree, which really, in today's terms, really doesn't mean much, right? Until you have that bachelor's where they can say that's the diploma. That's one of the diplomas we'd like to see. But my decision to go into sales by far was one of the pivotal moments of how I was going to support my family. Because when I left and I moved here to California, I I did. I mean, I looked my father-in-law in the eye and said, we're gonna figure out how to support ourselves. They allowed us to, they guided us, they gave us advice, sure, but like you said, you have to be very defined about here's how I can make this work. And I won't say the first year of an all commission position was like all glory. Absolutely not. It probably gave me even more work ethic because I knew that if I didn't get my tail up and I didn't hit the number of people each day, each week, and I didn't work on the skills that were required to service and find those customers, then I would have to find another way to do that, whether it was an educational route or what have you. But I think because you've come from a competitive background, right? Of what it takes about football. There's so much to learn about football and just competitive sports about sacrifice and discipline and taking the losses, learning from the losses, enjoying the wins, but building upon that. That's what this is about, man. And what you know now about fatherhood is it's definitely not going to be like that 3 or 4 years from now when you're like, this stage is different, right? And
Yeah.
your relationship, with Piper. I mean, what do you now where you are? I mean, knowing that, um, because gosh, Oakley's almost won. I mean, for you,
Yep.
what are you really enjoying about fatherhood nowadays?
What I'm really enjoying about it now is seeing Oakley grow. And it's funny too because that's something I look forward to is seeing Oakley grow every day and seeing her tendencies show, like her personality come through. Like that's what I really love about fatherhood today, as well as um, that family time with Piper and Oakley. Us, thankfully, we live pretty close to downtown Huntington, so we'll go for walks down there in the evening times, or on weekends we'll go like for walks, and it just gives you like gratitude and you appreciate life, like not just physical things, but like in, you know just being there with your family. Us walking down, enjoying the weather here in sunny California, beautiful skies, the trees, and you know, yeah, that's I just can't like get over that like moment of us being with each other and like little Oakley having a little laugh, smiling. It's like it's the best thing in the world.
Yeah, there those and a lot of times, if you're not really fully present as a dad, you'll miss those things.
Yeah.
And I think you know, like for example, there's a lot of folks I know that never decided to be parents for whatever reason. You know, a lot of my close friends, they never decided to be parents. And you know, I think there's just so much to to love about fatherhood, to love about parenting and the family life. It builds so much character. It requires teamwork. It requires patience. You know, and I think that when you look at that, you realize, gosh, I told you that myself. I can't imagine um, my life not being a father, not being a husband, and things like that. And you guys, you know, I think the whole thing about game planning with, you know, because you and Piper have been dating for 2 years now. I mean, I think that there's always something to work towards, right? And you know, then you get to enjoy that with, you know, with your daughter. And those milestones that you're going to see soon, Michael, are going to be so powerful. You know, when it comes to, you know, when it comes to um the faith aspect, you know, what are some things about your faith and you trying to discover your faith? How does that tie into maybe what your goals are for your family?
Yeah, for me, big thing that ties into my faith is how, Jesus sacrificed so many things for us. And I try to do the same. Like I try to sacrifice as much as I can for my family. And that has been a big influence. And so like, being willing to, you know, give up sleep hours of sleep, restless nights, early mornings, late nights, um, setting time apart to be there for Piper when she needs me, as well as, for Oakley, most importantly, as well, to make sure that they know that I'm here for them. And like you said, working a full commission job is not easy, definitely. And you have to make sacrifices where when you're home, you're still working in ways. And yeah, just the like atomic family. So for me, that's a big, big influence in for me because me and Piper, both of our parents have like separated from like when we were fairly young, and we are like learning from their mistakes of what not to do, and because we understand how hard that can be for the kid, and we do not want Oakley to experience the things that we had experienced in our childhood. So, um, you know, Jesus, Mary, and Joseph, huge influences in my life. And yeah, I'm also named after Saint Michael, the Archangel. And like, I kind of like take pride in that. I'm like, okay, I got to be the protector, you know?
Mm,
So yeah.
that's beautiful, man. Interestingly enough, I very much have an affection, just a general love for the Holy Family, because trying to teach my son at the age of 12 what it's like, what the expectations are of how to be a godly man, how to be a righteous man, and what the world will tell you compared to the way we're taught. And then part of that is when you look at the Holy Family model, you don't really have to dig so deep to start to see the fruits of their responsibilities. I mean, goodness, just if you just think about Saint Joseph having to protect Jesus, the Savior, and Mary, the mother, you know, the mother of God, you're almost like, I mean, that does take courage. That does take everything you see in the litany of Saint Joseph, and that for me was eye opener. That I have to take that very seriously, and that's really like the foundational thing of when it comes to sacrifice. And with what you said about, you know, your name coming from Saint Michael the Archangel. So I have a family heirloom that I'm going to be passing off to my son. Um, at the end of March, where essentially goes from 12 to 13, which I'm indicating kind of his rite of passage of becoming a man. And the heirloom that I'm going to give him is a it's a huge Saint Michael the Archangel, just as strong as he needs to be to protect his family. And I think that ultimately I want that passed down, through generations of this is how the Pintang men protect their family. The way that God protects us as much as we can against our free will. It's pretty powerful to see that. Um, I can
Yeah,
imagine
that's
you having those
beautiful.
conversations with Oakley as she gets older, because being a girl dad's so cool.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm proud to be a girl dad for sure. Like, I love it, and I can't wait for conversations with Oakley, like, as she grows up, and that's one thing I look forward to. Um, you know, being able to have conversations where it's actual syllables coming out instead of just some
Yeah.
coos and blah blahs. But yeah, you know, it's just seeing the gift of parenthood, fatherhood, and motherhood is just seeing you like your child grow through life. And that's like the best gift that anyone could be given.
Uh,
And
it reminds me of something I saw yesterday. We we were we were down at J Sarah. Father Mike Schmitz was he had his talk, and they had their event. But I just happened to catch in front of me this little gal. She just happened to she just reached over to me and held my hand, and I was like, oh, that's so precious, this little girl. But then I also saw a little girl come to her, like in the middle of mass, and like just say something random. Like I didn't even know, couldn't understand what she was saying, but it was the cutest thing because she actually felt like she was conveying her message. And I think you're gonna have those conversations from the back seat. You're gonna have a lot of those why this and why that, and you those are I think those are just powerful little moments in their life where they're like, you know, those conversations with dad are pretty darn cool. And I think that's where they really find their love of dads. They say the daughter, the daughter that will always gravitate towards the father, just like a son will lean towards the motherly love of his mother. And that's what I see in my daughter, at least at 17 years old. So from your side, Michael, as we start to wind things down, I mean, when you look back at kind of how you got tied in with the Walking with Dads, you know maybe you can share how the Walking with Dads theme fits into what they do at the Life Center.
yeah, I think their theme of it is the big thing was when you look everywhere, social media as well as like support groups, most of the attention is on the mothers, right? Like during a pregnancy, um, there's not too much support for a father, you know, and so it's kind of like our theme is just kind of like letting fathers know and letting like kind of spreading like the message that like there is support for men. Men should reach out because we're having all these challenges, you know, stack up on top of each other. And when we have our meetings, you never know who's going to come because it's kind of like an open invitational. Like all can do is just reach out to people and pray that they come. And sometimes the people who come in, you hear their story, you hear what they're going through, and it's just, you know, you want to help them. You want to know that, hey, call me. Like, here's my number. Here's everyone's numbers. Like, tell us a little bit about yourself. Like we'll find a mentor that kind of like we think that you'll be a good match for. And that's something that new that we've incorporated in this year is um, we have a lot of people coming. We have some older gentlemen and we have some younger folks like myself that come to these meetings. And we really want it to be like everyone is in their own situation with like the younger fathers and the older gentlemen who have been there, who have gone through all that. They've had their situations too. And we're kind of really trying to like dial it into where it's more one-on-one outside of the meetings because we have a meeting once a month and a lot can happen in a month. You know, you can lose a job or, you know, you and your girlfriend could have a huge argument to where you guys think it's the end of the world. And, you know, just being able to have that phone call of just venting what's going on. And sometimes that's all it takes. All it takes is for someone to listen to you without judgment. And then the worst, like what's going to happen is we'll give our input and advice. And, you know, I think you could, from the meeting that you went to, I'm sure you might have seen it as well, right? Where we had that great guest speaker sharing his story of what he was doing. And all the high schoolers in the back kind of like listening along. And then we broke off. So the younger men came into a smaller group and we were addressing like our problems. And, you know, kind of curious from an outside view of like the one meeting you went to, of your take on like the life of like walking with dad's meeting and what you kind of thought of it.
Yeah, sure, Michael. I mean, I observed a lot, obviously, because I did want to interact with a lot of the teens that were there to kind of volunteer and hear Joe speak about, what he was doing with Higher Ground. But there was a part of me that really wanted to be there to offer that safe space for those men. Those were the guys that I really wanted to see where they are at and see how I can inch them a little bit closer, to build their trust, to offer them resources, support. And on top of that, give them a level of executable steps and a small form of accountability so that they can see that, hey, let me just give you this one task. Take this one task and let's see what happens there. And just move and build some confidence. And I think that happens a lot, at least in my business life, running sales teams. That's what it was like. Let me get this C player to a B player, right? For these guys, they're like, a lot of times they've been through so many hardships that they don't have a lot of breathing room. And a lot of times that's where you can kind of stay in that victimhood, when in reality, no, I could see a lot of talent in you. I see a lot of potential. Let's do this. Let's try that, and I guess that's the coach in me, I suppose. But
Yeah.
I really wanted to be a part of the breakout group, but I'm like, I'm gonna let them do their thing. But at some point I will. I know I will, because I think that for me, I guess it's gonna date myself, but I love the Mr. Miyagi moments where in Karate Kid, like Mr. Miyagi's training Daniel all this time, and Daniel's like, I don't even know what we're doing here. And sure enough, as he uses the techniques that he's been learning for all that time, Mr. Miyagi's just there and he's just nodding like, I told you I saw it in you. That's the thrill of victory right there. And I think that the more you can embrace the struggles, celebrate the wins, and try to move the needle and move the sticks, it's just cool. It's just really cool to see that. But those guys, I think they need to be loved just like everyone else, man, because we're so prideful, Michael, a lot of times we're just not willing to be vulnerable, to be open and say, dude, I just suck at this and I'm just frustrated. Like, what do you mean? Give them space to share why they're frustrated, because we'll be very
Yeah.
self-critical of ourselves if you let it. And unfortunately, that's the way the devil works too, to break up families.
Yeah. It's funny you brought that up. I thought of the same thing. Like for me, the hardest part for a long time was opening up. And, you know, I look at offering support as getting the young fathers to open up more because it's intimidating, you know. for me, going to my first meeting, seeing all these fathers there, and I'm like, "Ugh," you know, what's like, what's the point of sharing, right? Like,
Hmm.
they've been there, they've done that. Like, it's different times now for me, you know? Like, they don't, just being able to like open up is just the start of something, beautiful. And that's how you grow as a person. And, I'm still like that to this day. As like you said, being a man, it's like the pride that we have. And it's like it's not easy for us to open up and be vulnerable. And I think that's one thing beautiful I've seen so far in the Life Center is there's men starting to open up more and reach out more. And I think that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, that fellowship I think that forms there is it comes in time. You can't we can't expect everyone to just be like you know um fully open. But I think that's the beauty of being able to contribute your story, your struggle, because your struggle that you don't want to share is probably the same as the guy two seats down from you. And fortunately for you guys, you get to learn from all of our mistakes. If I'm going to be like quite honest, like we can say, hey
Yeah.
man, this is what I ignored. I mean, there's a lot of us that poured a lot of time in our profession. And if you pour the same amount of time into your profession as you do, you would for your family, the legacy that you build that comes from your household is pretty damn cool. That's the way I see it. Like, the way I phrased it during my keynote was that these children of mine are still God's children, but they were entrusted to me. So it's my job to guide them, protect them, provide for them, and it's all aspects. It's the physically, mentally, emotionally provide for them, and it doesn't come naturally, man. And I mean, on top of that, your relationship with Piper is just going to be just as important because the demands of a little toddler is it's tough, and it's tough. But I think that you grow through that adversity, and I think that's what I love about being able to see those kids. I'm like, I could talk to a CEO or a CFO or whatever, but when I'm with kids, man, it's too much. I'm the one rolling around, and I swear, dude, if you saw me a couple of days ago, we were nerf fighting in the front yard and everything, man. I was running all over the place.
Yeah.
That's
And
that's fun.
I, I know the exact moments. It's like when you're with like kids, like you do not care about anything else in the world. It's like you guys are in your own little bubble.
Yeah.
And like I'll be out in public with Oakley at dinner at a nice restaurant, making like crazy faces at her, saying like whatever. And then I just like it's like you don't care about like what people think of you in that moment.
Yeah. Yeah. Those and I think you just got to enjoy that. I mean, family life, it is tough. It's a responsibility, and to um that to one that's given much, a lot is expected as well. But you got to enjoy it, man. The family life is fun. Um but dude, as we wrap up, I want to give you just an opportunity to kind of share any advice to some of the fathers who um may have kids that have an unplanned pregnancy or are young parents. I mean, what would you say to the mom or dad that has that child, with as a young father or as a young mother?
Ooh, it's hard because I could probably go on for hours about this, but if I had to be very brief, I would say reach out for support. There's a saying, takes a family, it takes a village to raise a child, and it's true. And although some people may have said some things that were hurtful when they first found out, it's okay because, just how you were scared, they're scared for you because they love you. So I would say just reach out for support, reach out for someone to talk to, reach out to have someone watch the kid so you guys can go on date nights, reach out to everybody, anyone and anybody in the world. Like, because having support helps so much. It relieves so much weight on your shoulders that it makes it 10 times easier. And with that being said, I would also say enjoy the moments because it goes by so fast. Oakley's turning a year old next month on April 13th. And to me, it still feels like it's January, right? Like when I look at her as like a little baby who still needed, like, who couldn't crawl, who like had to be like tended to 24/7. And now she's running around doing her own thing almost. Doesn't seem like she needs us for the most part. But I would say if you're a young father, young mother, enjoy the moments. And if you're not a father yet, but expecting to be, you know, be open-minded because the journey that you go through with parenthood is the most beautiful thing in the world. And although it may be challenging, it's so rewarding because you're getting to see your child grow up and you're getting to raise that child.
I love that, my man. I love that so much because it's it's almost like it makes me think of how grandparents feel when their kids get to have kids, because you get to relive it. You get to relive the that age, that innocence, and the progression. At least that's what I've seen in you know the my mom and dad, my in-laws. When they see the kids, they just enjoy seeing them grow up, to do these things. And um yeah, I'm certainly looking forward to doing more work with the Walking with Dads ministry. And I think that um bringing together, the community to help support what they do at the Life Center of Santa Ana is going to be great thing, because I think what I see there in the short amount of time I spent there, there's a lot of lives that you're impacting. And that to me is really being the hands and feet of Christ, is by sacrificing for our fellow brethren. So Michael, thank you for being on the show. And well, I will continue to pray for you guys. We'll update you guys on as things generally progress, that you guys need resources and help with guidance and stuff and connections. Sometimes it's not always what you know, but it's who you know. And we're going to help with the outreach and talk to Megan about how we can help both the Walking with Moms and Walking with Dads. So it'll be a fun thing to do. But we're going to continue to pray for our listeners, our viewers, their families, anyone that happens to listen to this podcast or shares this episode. We thank you. And if anyone's looking for any kind of solar service for their home, I have a great person that's going to be able to walk you through some options and possibly save you some money along the way. So Michael, I'm going to close out with prayer, and we'll close out this episode. In the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Hail, guardian of the Redeemer, spouse of the Blessed Virgin Mary. In you, God entrusted his only Son. In you, Mary placed her trust. In you, Christ became man. Blessed Joseph, show unto us too a Father, and guide us in the path of life. Obtain for us grace, mercy, and courage, and defend us from every evil. Amen. Jesus, I trust in you. In the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Well, brothers and sisters, this podcast episode has ended. Go in peace to love and serve the Lord.